Welcome, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for joining our session today. You are here in Diving in ERM First, Rethinking Electronic Resources and Print Materials Management with Folio. So today we are having a lively discussion. It has been a lively 24 hours and continues to be so. But today we're going to really try to have more of an interactive conversational type of session. So thank you. Just a quick overview of our agenda for today. Our group here is only going to speak for about 15 to 20 minutes, but we are going to cover who are we, what is Folio, and some highlights from both of our institutions' implementations. So a little bit about our institutional context, why we selected Folio ERM, and our different approaches. But then the majority of our time will be spent in lively discussion. So please do submit your questions or use the chat. We have polls also in Pathable. So yeah, please do interact with us.
And speaking of polls, like Lindsay said, we do have some available in Pathable. If you could fill those in or respond to those as we go along, that would be great. So it may inform some of our conversation later on in the session. Starting off with who we are, I'm Brooks Travis. I'm the coordinator of Library Information Technology at Missouri State University.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Taggart. I'm the Director of Resource Management and Discovery, and I'm also at Missouri State University.
Hi, I'm Marie Widigsson. I'm a librarian working with library systems at Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden.
Hey everyone, my name is Kalila Gambrell. I'm a Senior Technical Product Manager with Ebsco.
So some of you are probably wondering, what is Folio? Folio is an open source library services platform developed by a community under the Open Library Foundation, which also shepherds ViewFind and GoKB and a few other projects as well. It's built on a microservices architecture. You choose the functionality you want to implement. The interface is organized into apps that can be implemented and managed without having to do everything at once. The system is capable of providing circulation, acquisitions, cataloging, and ERM functionality out of the box. Both Chalmers and Missouri State have selected Folio services from Ebsco as our managed services provider for Folio. They provide application hosting, maintenance, support, migration assistance, and implementation project management for the initial implementation and migration of data. The services also include Ebsco Discovery Services, Holdings Manager, and Holdings IQ, which is an API into Holdings Manager that is used by Folio eHoldings to integrate the two systems. And we're also beta partners for Ebsco Analytics for Folio as well. Some context from Missouri State University. We have approximately 24,000 students, an FTE of between 18 and 19,000. We're a doctoral professional Carnegie classification. We manage 4 branch libraries, one of which is a K-12 school library. At our lab school, we have a combined annual budget of approximately $6.6 million, which includes personnel, about $2.2 million for content, approximately 45 full-time employees.
All right, so a little bit about how we were managing e-resources before we started the implementation process. So kind of our history here. We used, like probably a lot of you all, a mix of a lot of different things. We did have a homegrown system and access database, which was awesome in that it contained so much information and data. But we were really running into problems with, as kind of people took new positions and left our department, it was hard to onboard people and kind of keep up with those free text fields. And also just kind of as a system, it was struggling to function a little bit. It was hard to get data out of it, and we couldn't open it if you had a Mac. So problems like that were really causing issues. We also used kind of a mix of paper files and a lot of individual paper mail as well, but individual emails and kind of individual calendar reminders, and a lot of expertise and institutional knowledge that our team members had. We also were using TDNet as our kind of totally separate knowledge base and link resolver. And there was also a discovery aspect that we were not utilizing. So we kind of really were coming to a point where it was a struggle to manage our e-resources. And that's a reason why we were looking at Folio. And it was a priority to kind of implement that microservice or that app first. So some highlights about implementation at Missouri State. So it is definitely a work in progress, but we've had some wins along the way. So first thing that we noticed was it was really helpful in reimagining our workflow. So we kind of started with the agreements app as our starting point for as resources came up for renewal. We really looked at that. We had one place to have all of our documentation. And we also started using Microsoft Planner to help with our workflow. And if you haven't used that, it's really similar to Trello. And we found it really helpful to be able to put in links to Folio ERM and kind of talk back and forth between those. And we do know that Folio is also, there's a task manager app in the works. And we have a colleague, our colleague Jershin is on that group. So shout out to everyone working on that. Thank you. Another highlight for us was this process helped us take a fresh look at our licenses and really look at those terms and conditions and kind of uncover what that means for things like ILL. Can this resource be shared? Alumni access too, do we have that or no? So those were some really important things that were uncovered in this process. And lastly, I wanted to mention, it was also great that we now have one place to manage resource selection and our agreements together. So there is a live connection between Folio eHoldings and Ebsco's Holdings Manager, or HLM. So if you make a change in one place, it reflects in the other as well. So you don't have to duplicate your work there. So those are just some quick highlights from our implementation. And next, I'm going to hand it over to our wonderful colleague, Marie, over at Chalmers. And they were the very first to go live with this.
Thank you, Lindsay. Yes, we were, in fact. It was a little more now, a year ago, that we went live with Folio for everything as our only library system. But actually a couple of months before that, we started using the Eram parts in Folio as our Eram, and together with Ebsco Knowledge Base and Discovery System. And we consider ourselves to be a small to mid-sized library with a very heavy focus on electronic material. So ERM is important to us. And now you can switch, please. Thank you. Folio can handle both print and electronic. And bless you.
Bless you.
And you can set it up a little bit like you want to. We have made a choice to, in Folio, separate the print catalog, which is in an app called Inventory, and to have the Ebsco Knowledge Base in that app only. And that, as Lindsay said, it's the same, it's just another user interface for the Ebsco Knowledge Base. But they are different places in Folio, but they are connected to the rest of the Folio infrastructure, such as the organizations and the orders, etc. So when we, before we went to use Folio, we looked a lot into our systems, and we had experience. We had been using a couple of Eram systems before, actually, and we had a lot of thoughts about what we liked in them and what we did not like. So we knew quite well what we wanted Folio to be for us, and worked towards that as well from the beginning. We had been using Ebsco knowledge base already for a year, so that part of implementation, connecting our holdings in the knowledge base to the link resolver part, that was already taken care of. So now we dived into the possibilities in Folio. And there is a central part called agreements that we really like. It's a great way of organizing everything in a way that makes sense to us. We think of it as an umbrella that keeps together everything regarding a purchase of a bunch of packages or a subscription. Everything regarding contacts, logins, licenses, any date you may think of for renewals, etc. All kind of documents, notes, and the knowledge base. And when entering in the information, we try to have a very pragmatic approach. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by all the possibilities there are, and there are so many fields and connections you can make, but we thought we want to enter only that things that we really need to make it work for us, not to overcomplicate anything. But as this was a very early implementation, and we have upgraded several times since, there come new possibilities all the time, and we know that we are going to have to rethink again, and well, that's exciting as well. Most important for us is the flexibility, the possibility to keep it simple, and a way to have easy access to those common questions that we get about all those licenses, terms of use. And at the next slide, I will show you a little bit about that. To the right, you can see a screenshot of what we have on our website today connected to, for example, the database A to Z and the e-journal lists. It's a selection of the most useful terms that we get asked about from interlibrary loan staff, from teachers, and from students. And using the previous Eram systems, we were kind of forced to use a language that we weren't very comfortable with, and was kind of hard to understand for our users. In Folio, we have been able to use exactly the wordings that we want, both for the labels and for the different options that we can enter. And we can also choose which terms to actually enter, and not having to go through a long list of everything. So as an ERM worker, it makes life much easier and nicer, I think. So I can talk a lot about this, but I will hand it over to your questions now.
So there's actually been a lot of questions in the Pathable site using our chat. So I'm going to ask some of those questions, and either myself or Brooks or Lindsay or Marie will respond. Feel free to continue to post questions on the Pathable poll we created, or if you feel more comfortable, feel free to post your questions in the Zoom chat as well. The first question I'm going to ask, because this is the question with the most thumbs up or likes, I guess, is I guess this will be for for Marie and Lindsay and Brooks is, when moving to Folio, did you completely revamp your workflows and start from scratch? Which I think, Marie, you kind of talked a little bit about. Or did you modify existing workflows that were in place with the previous ERM? So I didn't know if you guys wanted to expand a little bit more on what Marie mentioned about, and Lindsay too, about revamping your workflows and kind of moving from your previous system to Folio.
Actually, I can start to say we didn't actually revamp the actual workflows so much. It's more the way we organized it. So I think we work kind of the same way as before, but a little bit easier than before. We are also using a project management tool to handle the alerts and tasks outside of Folio as for now. But that was because we had been using ERM systems before, maybe. Lindsay and Brooks, maybe you have something to add?
Lindsay, do you have something here? I mean, I can provide a little bit of background, but if Lindsay might have a better answer here than I would.
I'm so sorry. I'm in a room where they have started doing construction suddenly on a window. I'm moving to a quieter place though.
I can jump in here for a second. We had some significant personnel changes that happened around the same time we were getting ready to do this. So we did a lot of revamping from scratch of our workflows. And I think the biggest change was shifting things from the independent silos of personal emails, personal calendars, relying on snail mail, like getting the invoice to remember, oh, hey, we need to renew this agreement. So we wanted to keep better track of that. So we shifted to the planner-based workflow and having the ability to link both to that from Folio, but also from there into Folio versus our existing system of the Access database. The way that was constructed has been a big win, I think. But we also took it as an opportunity to kind of go in and do a systematic review of our agreement documentation, the license documentation as well, because that had gotten into a bit of a state of disarray over the years, and it more just accreted things as personnel changed, as Lindsay said. A lot of it was, we had a lot of really long-serving faculty and staff who were responsible for a lot of these areas in the past, and they started to resign or retire or take on different opportunities within the organization or other organizations. And so we wanted to get to something that had more structure and was going to be easier to onboard people, and that made sense to how we were wanting to kind of reimagine the structure of our entire organization in content management. Lindsay, you can also jump in now.
I think you covered that really well. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, does ERM tie into acquisitions at all? What does it do for an e-journal package title lists? Can those title lists distinguish between subscriptions of some titles versus rentals, also access only of other titles within the same package? Does this work with EBSCOnet? So I think I can answer a couple of these, but Brooks and Lindsay, I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about how ERM ties into acquisitions.
Right now, we're still trying to decide how that's going to work. We've historically done most of our serials acquisitions outside of even our previous acquisitions workflows for print. And we're trying to decide if that's going to remain that way or not. Part of that would be if integrations between our serials purchase agent and Folio could occur, that would be nice. To automatically populate some of that information into the system versus right now we'd be duplicating effort to populate that in both places. I know I've heard rumblings that some of those vendors are looking at integrations possibly with Folio for those purposes, but nothing concrete yet.
So yeah, I mean, one of the things I think both Lindsay and Marie talked about was the flexibility of Folio ERM, and so there are some libraries that are using that have tied in acquisitions. So because with Folio there are we actually have a way of managing your finances, your budget, your funds, as well as your orders and your invoices, all within Folio. And so there is so yeah, you can actually manage your entire ERM lifecycle within Folio. So it's not just the managing of those resources, but also the finances that you can also do within Folio. With regard to the question about, what does it do for eJournal package titles? Can those titles lists distinguish between subscriptions versus rentals? Within your e-holdings, you have a feature called an access status type. You could actually distinguish whether it's a title you subscribe to versus something that you might just have access to because it's a rental. So you could leverage that functionality to do that. That's potentially one way you can leverage that functionality. And if I answered that question correctly, or if that was what you were looking for. And then, does this work with EBSCOnet? Right now, we do have on the Folio roadmap an integration between EBSCOnet and Folio, which would allow the EBSCOnet orders to flow into Folio. So that is something we plan to do in the next couple of months. So hopefully I answered whoever asked that question, hopefully I answered it, but if I didn't, feel free to add more details. Or let me know, rather. All right, the next one is, let's see what the next one is here. Actually, there's a question about interest in what using Folio ERM added. Did it make it easier to track ER life cycles? Was it worth the cost and the switch? And also, if you didn't have to migrate, so you think, if you didn't have to migrate, do you think you would have migrated based on your experience now that you've been using Folio for a year in the case of Marie, in over 6 months for Missouri State? Does that question make sense?
I can start by asking the last part. We would migrate again if we would have made the choice today. Of course, there are things missing and things could be better, but we do not regret that choice. And easier to track e-resource life cycles, yes, I think so. And it will be even more easier with a task management app. Burst cost and the switch, I can't answer because we had such a special implementation.
I don't know what Lindsay thoughts specifically are on this, but getting to answer the last part of it first. Again, I think we would make the switch again, especially on the ERM side. It's been such a big win in both functionality and opportunity for us. Making the switch gave us a real reason to go through and make a lot of either changes or to really think about how we had been doing things and had just been basically rolling along for quite a while, and we hadn't really put a lot of introspection into those processes, and making the switch gave us the opportunity to do that. Yeah,
I totally agree. And I mean, it's uncovered problems and work, but it's good because it's things that need to be fixed, and we needed to kind of rethink things. So yeah, I think it's been great.
Okay. The next question is, can the Folio ERM product work as a standalone ERM? I'll answer that question is yes. Yes, there are several libraries or institutions that have gone live with Folio with just the ERM piece. And in fact, when some libraries have gone live with all of Folio, the first piece that they go live with is actually the ERM piece. And then they go live with the circulation, cataloging, other aspects of Folio.
That was what we did at Missouri State. So.
And then this is actually a question I've seen in also Zoom and also in Pathable, which is, how does Folio plug into services and systems that are not Ebsco based? And does using Folio necessitate purchasing other Ebsco services? Folio is not Ebsco based. This is a community. This is an open source library services platform, and the development of these this platform is not Ebsco based. This is a community driven product and effort. The development is from developers that are around the world, as well as subject matter experts and libraries that are all over the world that are not are not just using Ebsco products. So that's the way it's developed is not something in which you have to have an Ebsco product to use. There are integrations that we have, as Marie and Lindsay also talked about. There's an integration with the Ebsco knowledge base so that you can actually use the knowledge base within Folio. But there are integrations also with Gobi as well. But if you're not using the Ebsco knowledge base, you're not precluded or not you can use Folio. You can there's an internal knowledge base that's driven by GoKB. But even if you're not using GoKB and you're using other knowledge bases, knowledge base provider, you can use Folio. You can load in that information and your holdings into Folio and leverage Folio's ERM platform. So yeah, you don't have to. So hopefully that answers the question there.
Yeah, there's a pretty big contingent, I believe, of German libraries that are going going live with ERM first in Folio, who are not using Ebsco's products and integrations. They're using the GoKB integration and the internal built-in knowledge base within Folio itself.
Yeah.
And there are also other hosting providers. Well, you can host yourself. Of course, it's an open source product, but apart from Ebsco, there are some others like Index Data, Bywater Solutions, and some more that I have forgotten now.
Yeah. Next question on this list here is total cost of ownership. So the submitter of this question asks, for example, a subscription plus staff, implementation plus ongoing costs. So the total cost of ownership of the use of Folio. Any?
We don't know, but it's going to be less than before.
Yeah, I can't get into super details, but it's significantly less than what our TCO had been before with other products. And again, we were basically walking into an unsustainable future with our existing system in terms of maintenance and the ability to get the data we needed from it. And so we were just going to keep increasing our switching costs as we went along. They were going to become greater and greater and greater. We were going to be forced to switch to something else at some point. And so this was a great opportunity to do that.
Okay, sorry guys, I'm multitasking, answering questions through Zoom and this too. One question that was in the Zoom chat is, does Folio ERM include usage tracking? You can, there is an e-usage app in which you can upload or set up your or harvest your usage statistics. That's one thing you could also use if you are an Ebsco usage consolidation customer. We are actually working on an integration between Folio and the Ebsco usage consolidation product. So there's several ways that you can use Folio to track your usage. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on how to elaborate. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's the built-in usage data, basically a place to store and access and view. There's going to be, they're building out the viewing functionality for those statistics as we go along here. That's something that's in active development. And then the integrations on the Ebsco side for us as an analytics and usage consolidation customer and beta partner for that product. That's kind of where we're looking to do most of our tracking and statistical monitoring and analysis at right now.
Okay. So someone asked this question, and I think it'll help to maybe clarify for folks who are not familiar with Folio. Are you not using Voyager or any other system at all with Folio? What about discovery like Primo, Summon, Ebsco Discovery Service with Folio? So I'll answer the I'll answer the first question. Is Folio is an ILS or what we call library services platform. So it has the capabilities of what you might find with Voyager. So yeah, we're not. There is no connection between Voyager and Folio because we are an ILS just like Voyager is. What about discovery like Primo, Summon, Ebsco Discovery Service? Just like, those Voyager or WMS or others, Folio, is a place where you are managing. This is where you're doing you're handling your catalog, your resources, and so that information can also be delivered to these discovery service systems like Ebsco Discovery Service or Summon or Primo, or to whatever potential OPAC layer you might also be using too. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts about that.
Just as you say, Folio doesn't have an OPAC, but apart from that, it's a complete library system. When integrating with a discovery system, as we have done with EDS, that has to function as the OPAC. So you have to be able to renew your loans, make requests, etc. And that's maybe the hard part in some aspects. But Folio provides APIs, so everything is possible to do. It's just to make it work well.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing as far as integrating with the discovery is having your discovery and be able to do the record loads. And I wasn't sure too if this question was specifically around e-resources or if it's just around general functionality in Folio and discovery. But in our case, the live integration with Holdings Manager is what determines as far as our discoverable resources and things are, what they are within EDS.
So this question has been pretty popular between Zoom and Pathable. This is, does Agreements ERM have a calendar built in, or do you need to keep a separate calendar to remind you of renewals or et cetera? So it's been a fairly popular question. right now, Folio doesn't have a kind of a reminder or notification system. It's something that is on the roadmap to develop, but right now we don't have that available at this time. But it's definitely on the roadmap to have a way for you to be alerted or reminded when a renewal is up in 30, 60, 90 days or has been past due, etc. So it's planned. It's not in development. But I guess a question for for you guys, Brooks and Marie and Lindsay, how are you managing those dates and reminders and etc.?
Well, for us, using this outside project management tool and link in to Folio is a way for us. We have all the reminders that we need we are using Trello and Project Place. We are, previous Eram systems that we have been using have been alerting us about, for example, now it's time to renew. That has not been very helpful because we cannot get most of our renewals at the same time. So to have 400 reminders in mid-October is maybe not what we need. We know that we are going to work with this now anyway. So the reminders for us is very important to be able to set ourselves what we want to be reminded about. For a resource that expires in June, it's very helpful to have a renewal reminder, but otherwise it's just a lot of reminders to get rid of. So as with many other things, customization, settings, flexibility is key here, I think. And that's it. We are looking forward to the calendar reminder.
Yeah, and right now, I think for folks who are implementing, no, go ahead, Lindsay, if you've got something.
Oh, I was just going to chime in that, yes, I agree that we're looking forward to the calendar as well. We're using Microsoft Planner. So thank you to my colleagues who have figured out how to do that and set up a system where there is like a calendar function in Planner that we kind of use for our workflow.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what I would call the low-hanging fruit way to implement that functionality right now. If you had some development resources on your end, you could probably build a small system that uses the APIs to kind of go out and run through the agreements and check their renewal dates and like cancel by dates and all that kind of stuff, and could do some notification for you if you wanted to, but that would be a different project level, I think, of things to do. That's the way my brain functions as an IT person. So.
Okay.
I think we might be about out of time.
Almost, yeah.
Okay.
But I think we could probably answer one more question related to ERM, and that is, does Folio allow you to store copies of license agreements for internal review, or do you keep a separate filing system? I can describe the functionality, and then maybe Marie and Lindsay, Brooks, you want to talk about what you guys are doing. But yes, you can store copies of your licenses, and you can store it within Folio. You can upload it, or you can provide a link to maybe the filing system that you have. You could, so yeah, you have that capability. You could store it within Folio. You could provide a link to if you're storing it in a physical file cabinet, or if you're storing on something like Dropbox or Box, yeah, you can track that within Folio. I don't know if you guys want to elaborate.
It's really flexible as far as how to attach that information to the records in Folio. It's, again, you can you upload, link, physical description of where it is. Like if you've got a filing system that you like drawer 3, tabs, 6 or orange tab or blue tab, or however you want to organize your files in a physical file cabinet. You can describe that within the agreements supplementary document section and licenses supplementary document section as well. But yeah, it's really flexible. We're, I think, trying to get to, I think we're using links right now to OneDrive files stored in group file storage. We do upload a few documents as well, just for, we're doing both, if I'm remembering correctly from the last time we looked. We're uploading PDF copies to Folio and linking out to documents in OneDrive.
On the Chalmers, we have chosen not to upload, but instead to link where we have them anyway. But not only licenses, we link to several different things, like important email correspondence that we want to save that can have importance for us, and historical document. It could be title lists, it could be technical documentation, kind of everything, but we have chosen not to upload them, and it's kind of have an easy exit way if we ever want to go to another system long time. Then we have them at the same place. We don't have to transfer anything.
So there's
no, go ahead. I'm good.
Okay, there's one final question in the Zoom chat, and it's the Folio dance when they went live at Chalmers. Marie knows this well. Who else do you know that danced upon going live with a system migration? Did you guys dance, Brooks, Lindsay? Did you guys do the moonwalk? I did not
know we could have danced. What? We missed it.
Part of the big go live component for us was back in like March, and so we were all at home in our own houses. We could have been dancing, and we just wouldn't have known it. Some of us may have been
dancing on the inside.
It's never too late.
That is true.
I like that.
Okay. I'm sorry, I saw a note from Kristen Martin.
We will dance also without Lisa.
All right. I think we actually covered all of the questions from Zoom and from Pathable. Just double checking, but I think we did. Yeah. Great questions. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and feel free to reach out to us over email. We'll be posting the copies of the slides to the Pathable event here in just a little bit, and they'll have links to with our email addresses and stuff in them. So definitely feel free to reach out to Lindsay and I if you've got questions about our implementation as well.
Okay.
Big thanks, everybody.
All right. Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, guys. All right. Have a good conference.